It's 106.9 WWSU Success Radio with Dexter Bailey. Listen every Saturday from 9 to 11 on the right choice, 106.9 WWSU Fairborn, Dayton. Today, we have the super producer Solar interviewing today, part of 7 Grand. He worked with Guru, a legend in his own time. And today we're going to hear about his rise to the top, his rise to success, and get some information about him and his great partner Guru. Solar, how are you today?
I'm beautiful, Dexter. Yourself?
Pretty good, pretty good. It's so good to hear from you. I know it's probably cold. Are you up in New York right now?
Yes, it's freezing in New York.
All
I mean, you're
over.
talking about global warming, and it don't feel very warm here.
Right. That's right. That's right. Now, you know, uh, we usually start from the very beginning, and you grew up in New York. Is that correct?
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. Tell us about your neighborhood that you grew up in, Solar. What was it like? Was a lot of music there? Was a lot of jazz, hip hop? I mean, how was it?
Well, let me say, Brooklyn and New York, first of all, New York is the birthplace of hip-hop, and also birthplace of jazz. So, when you have those two great influences, and, coming out of one area, you can only expect that the people who grow up like myself in that environment is going to be affected, you know? And hip hop, of course, is my generation, has been prior to my generation. So it was essentially art form. And it wasn't just music, it was culture. And culture is scientific. So I knew, and many of my peers knew, that we were here creating something like this in the world. Almost impossible to say what the feels like. We're living in the so-called ghetto, and here you are with this brand new lifestyle, music,
Right.
clothes, language, and you know that it's so different, and it's incorporating something that the world has never really experienced on a large scale, or accessed on a large scale. The teachers of the 5%. If you
Yeah.
look at the hardships of hip hop, you cannot ignore the influences of the 5%. In fact, many of the original, the forefathers of hip hop was definitely influenced by the teachers of the 5%. When you have all of these great communities coming together, when you have all these great communities coming together in one place, so to speak, you know,
Right.
in the boroughs, in Manhattan, Bronx, Brooklyn, it's just coalesce and put together communities. Then, like myself, of course, many of the hip hop notices.
Yeah.
Um, there are many brothers and sisters that are notable. And went on to great things in sports, entertainment, and business. That now you see, on stations as well, our president that are influenced by this pop on culture.
Yeah. It was like a wide diversity, right? Hello.
Yeah, Jack, I'm getting some other kind of music or feedback on my channel.
I'm hearing that as well. We don't have any feedback on this end. I mean, I thought you were listening to the radio back there.
No, that's not me.
Here, let me try this here. All right. Okay, I'm still here. Can you hear me a little better now?
Yeah, I can hear you completely better. I didn't know whether that was one of your feeds open or not.
Yeah. So you said it's a wide diversity of people, there where you were growing up, and you got to be exposed to that. A lot of people don't get that opportunity. Uh,
No.
How was it? Like, how were you able to deal with that, or did you even know? I mean, as a kid, like, did you even realize the opportunities that were open to you?
What it really, when I reflect back on it now, and I've been around the world and I've seen how it's touched the whole entire globe, and even down to the vernacular, where you hear our language in politics, in the most odd places where you wouldn't expect to hear hip hop language, and hip hop culture has affected everything. As a kid, I just knew that I loved it. When I first started scratching records, which is really being a producer.
Hmm.
I had my first band together when I was 12, 13 years old, and I started playing instruments at 7. I was the producer of my band at 12, 13. I didn't quite know what a producer was, but I was. And at the same note, when I started hip-hop producing, which was being the DJ, scratching 2 records together, I was producing then. And it just kept going to drum machines and so on. From the musical aspect, I always knew music was powerful, and I always knew it had the ability to reach out. But I didn't realize at the time how powerful the culture of hip-hop was, because it was an outlaw culture to a degree. Hip-hop was associated in New York with riffraff.
Hmm.
D-boys were more or less considered thugs or criminals.
Right. Right.
So, it was kind of unique to the black and so-called Latino communities, because white people had somewhat disassociated or associated with criminality or what was wrong with New York. Graffiti wasn't smiled upon when it first came out. Matter of fact,
Hmm.
really very little of what we were doing was being condoned or smiled at upon by the larger society, and that's what made it great, because
Yeah.
it gave us an incubator, a place where we could have our own situation, our own means to communicate with each other without it being turned into anything corporate, without it being interfered with. So
Right.
once the music itself began to explode, then you saw other cultures wanting to get involved, and of course it always touches the youth first. So you had white kids wanting to get involved, and you had Asians and all types of different people of different ethnicities, and it spread overseas. And then you started to see the multiculturality of it and how it was going to grow and how it was going to affect everything. And then, of course, you started to see records that were being made independently now are starting to be picked up by major labels. Radio is starting to introduce it on a larger scale, as opposed to your very small mix shows. The early DJs are now starting to become very prominent, and then of course comes MTV, and the rest is history, as they say. But at the heart of it, something that me and Guru always spoke about as we traveled the world was that the correlations between hip hop and jazz are very, very strong, and it seems like Guru and I are really the only ones out here that really took the time to explain that to the world, especially to Europe. They really tuned in on it.
Yeah.
That jazz was very much the same way, in that it was a subculture,
Right.
and it involved, of course, black men who were the originators of jazz, and they were up in Harlem and they were doing their thing, and they were equally outside of the mainstream culture. They were in underground speakeasies, and they
That's
had
right.
their own language and their own dress, and the other cultures that joined in were basically like doing something wrong in a way. If they went
Hmm.
from their very structured musical teachings into the jazz world, at that time they were considered to be outside of acceptable behavior, if you will.
Right.
And then, of course, as time went on, these same people went on to become the greatest names in music. Herb Alpert and
Miles
so on.
Davis.
So, Ermin Artugan, and
Hmm.
many great names. Bob Lumble from Blue Note. So these were guys that basically, went outside of their acceptable, traditional roles or in their communities to join in with the blacks,
Yeah.
with the
Right.
brothers and sisters to get something going. So, we've seen the same thing in hip hop now. We've seen it become multicultural with Eminem, with so many other artists who've come in and added on. And from a business level, we can't even count how many executives and managers and so on who joined into hip hop and have been there to make it the huge worldwide phenomena that it is. And at this point, it's become so dominant. Myself and my queen was laughing the other day in the gym. We seen a young brother in there with a flat top.
Yeah,
I said, Queen, look, they're recycling.
right.
They're recycling back to the beginning.
That's right. That's absolutely right. And I think I saw a guy. He had a flat top at the inauguration as
Yeah.
well.
So you have something that's so powerful when rather than this generation move on to some new type of hairstyle, they're recycling back.
Right, right. And it's just a funny thing, I also teach classes, and whenever I talk about hip hop, the students say, "Oh, Mr. Bailey, what do you know about hip hop?" Like, all right.
there was some hip hop before Nicki Minaj.
Right. Well, now, how did you and Guru come together? How did you guys meet?
Well, we met by a mutual friend introduced us, and back in 2000 and 2001, and we just became fast friends. We really hit it off, and we for lack of a better way to say it, there are times when you meet people that when you meet them that this is somebody special in your life. Not because he was famous or not because I was notable, for the things I was doing at the time, but just because we were just two like-minded individuals that literally once we got to know each other, we on many times just said, why didn't we just meet each other earlier?
Right.
and we often referred to each other as brothers from different mothers, because we were just that close. And once we met, we just started to really kind of bounce things off of each other on how to become better men, how to be better at life and at being us, and that evolved. That relationship evolved musically, it evolved personally, it evolved, once we became, we hit the world stage, it evolved in front of everybody's eyes, it literally was a reality show to some degree.
There's not a lot of people who, fuse jazz and hip hop. Of course, they've come with it's kind of like they're saying it's a new genre now, experimental hip hop. Was this something that you two always wanted to do? Is this something that you were always thinking about in the back of your head, even before meeting Guru?
It was something that I was doing, that I had already done musically, and wasn't quite aware of it. It was interesting because I always enjoyed a diverse palette of music. I always loved different types of music, and New York is such a multicultural place. I was blessed to have friends of every different ethnicity and background. So I had rock friends, and I had jazz friends, and I had Latin friends, and I had funk and R&B and you even punk rock, so I loved it all. I thought it was beautiful. And if you know anything about New York history, you'll know that really was the driving force, the impetus behind hip hop, because it was influenced by all these different, sounds and movements in New York. So musically, I was on that page. When Guru and I started to really talk and get into each other in terms of our music and our influences, we found that, in Boston, he was basically chasing what was going on in New York. And his jazz influences came from his uncle, who really was a jazz aficionado. Whereas my influences came from so many different sources. And we again found ourselves to be attuned on that level that we both didn't believe in boundaries. So when you listen to the 7 Grand catalog, you listen to the music that Guru and I created, that's why it was so, it is so creative and so out the box, and every album was different, Those who love it, they embrace that. Those who have disliked it, they've criticized that. But when you stop and look at Guru's work, you would understand that that's where he would go, and that's what he would do. And those who, followed me and my music, in my career, in my life, you would realize the same thing, that we would keep pushing the boundaries, and I choose to continue to keep pushing the boundaries. If you ever really look at life, anything great in life has to evolve.
Yes, right.
It doesn't evolve, it'll
It
be
becomes
great
extinct.
for that time. Yeah, but in order for it to grow and thrive, it has to evolve.
And oh my gosh, Guru has such a huge catalog of
Oh,
music.
you have no idea how hard it was to pick songs, when we were on tour.
Wow, he has a huge catalog of music. I mean, you think Tupac wrote a lot of music? I mean, Guru was like writing and writing and putting it out and putting it out.
And producing. A lot of people really don't know that he produced a lot of the Gangstar material, which is the biggest brand that he was attached to and that he founded. He produced a lot of the Gangstar material, and he was instrumental, literally instrumental, in choosing the songs. And so he was never really associated with that aspect of it. And I always thought that was really one of the most wonderful things about Guru was his humility,
Mm.
and but at the same time, at this stage when he's not here, people should really know, really how hands on and influential Guru was in all of his projects. Jazz
Yeah.
with Taz, even when he worked with jazz artists, he touched them. He touched them in a way. I would talk to these guys that have worked with Guru, and they were all tell me, like, wow, this I couldn't believe like he was a hip hop artist. Like he was so out the box that he was touching people that were 10, 20 years older than him, and
Mm.
he was basically inspiring them to keep pushing the envelope.
Wow, wow, and it's just it's a great fusion, that hip hop and
And let me tell you
jazz.
something. When Jasmine Taz was at its peak, when we would look at the audiences. The audiences were incredibly, when I say incredibly, almost unbelievably diverse. I mean, literally, we'd have babies from 1 year old, to middle-aged people, in their 50s, and everybody in between, teenagers and people in their 20s, and and of all different kinds of background. And we prided ourselves on bringing a music forward that everybody would feel comfortable, and that
Yeah.
you could come and everybody could access what Jazz Mataz is and what Guru and Solar and the Seven Grand movement was about. And the same thing when you looked at our Twitters and our MySpace when there was when there was MySpace.
Right, right.
When you looked at our followers, our friends, you saw such a large diversity. And Guru and I always prided ourselves on always answering all our fans back. So, if you took the time to shoot us an email, I mean, it wouldn't be right away, don't get me wrong, but at some point you would hear back from us, you know what I mean? And, that was something that, literally to this day, I strive to carry forward, and it's something that I always make a note to speak on whenever I'm talking, is that,
Right.
music is such a universal force, and in hip-hop it's so great, but notably, you see it in other forms of music. You see the Rolling Stones about to go back out, and you look at a lot of these rock cats. When you look at their audience, you see a large diversity of people accessing the music and turning other people onto the music, other
Right.
generations, so that they can enjoy it. So
That's
this
right.
is something that Guru and I was very proud of, and something that I strive to continue.
Yeah, I mean, even today, you if you do a search of Guru on Twitter, and Twitter is real. It's kind of like it's getting your thoughts out right there, so what people are thinking all over the
Right.
world. And
That's right.
you put in Guru, the rapper, and you see people saying, "Man, Guru, the best rapper alive," and this was like 15 minutes ago. Just somebody just thought that for some reason and wanted to just put it out there
That's right.
that Guru
That's
was
right.
the best rapper alive, and
That's right.
of course, and Guru's no longer with us, unfortunately.
Yes.
But
Yes.
I want
And
to
just
ask
so
you.
that the fans will know, he passed from cancer,
Okay.
and it was a form of cancer that's known as multiple myeloma. It is a cancer that I didn't know until he got it. That does strike black men in their middle ages, like 40 in their 40s, primarily. And it is a very deadly disease, and my heart goes out to anybody out there who's had to deal with cancer on any level. So just so that there was some confusion, there's been some confusion, just so that
Yeah.
all the fans and people out there know that he passed away from cancer.
Okay. Well, yes, thank you. And uh, we can talk about that, but I'd like to talk about his life. when he started and when you started, I want to talk about both of you guys. Was it hard for you guys to break in, or was there at that point a breaking in to do? I mean, it was kind of like people shunned hip hop in a way where if you're in basically. If you want,
it's interesting because we've discussed that. We talked about that so many times. Guru's endpoint for hip hop was a label called Wild Pitch, was an independent label.
okay,
And he came from Boston to New York with a duffel bag and a dream, literally. And he paid his dues, so to speak. Really did come to New York and toughed it out and signed with an independent label. And people in the music business, they'll understand you sign with an independent label. That's really equates to no money records. you're not going to see a dime.
okay, right.
You're literally going to do it for the love. And at the same time, with my music career, I was equally doing independent records. The difference was I started my own independent situation. So I was putting out records independently in the 90s through various networks. And so, that element of not coming through the major label machine, Guru put out one album with on the independent, was working on another album with independent, and then they signed to a major, but the major was kind of like an intermediary major. It wasn't like one of your bigger majors that you have today, but it was like a subsidiary signed to a major, which was a better situation. And then they started to grow and eventually got into a situation that they got into with Virgin EMI, which was their best look, and they sold the most records in that situation. So they kind of grew into a major label situation, which I think gave them the credibility, or gives Gangstar the credibility that it has today, from that type of growth, because it's something that you really don't see much of anymore. As time goes on, you really see less and less of that kind of starting independently and then growing into a major situation. Now it's kind of the American Idol, type reality where one day, you're on the bus or train, and the next day you're in Learjets,
Right, overnight celebrity. Now, I'm sure he ran it to you. Which was better for him? Did he enjoy the independent, or did he really enjoy the major label?
The interesting part about it is that, and this was something that we equally used to really talk a lot about, is that you're always going to really enjoy anything when you're struggling. That's when the purity of the art really comes forward. Yeah. After you make it, the art literally, it always suffers, and I think that's why you see kind of a lot of times with artists that they create drama in their lives, and the drama fuels the creativity again, because it's kind of like once you get there and you're in the Learjets, you're in the presidential suite. What's driving your creativity?
Yeah.
You got a Rolls Royce, you got a mansion, you know what I mean? You got a bunch of big butt chicks. What's driving the creativity?
Right.
When you're struggling and you're suffering for your art, you've got inspiration and creativity every second of the day.
Right. That's right. That's right. You are absolutely right. Now, for you, of course, did you guys take it from major back to independent when you did seven grand, or was it kind of like a fusion of the major and independent label?
Exactly. That's exactly what we chose to do. We chose to literally, being that we weren't babies by any stretch of the imagination. We were two grown men with very grown lives and very intelligent lives. Mm-hmm. So of course, when we structured 7 grand, we thought, how should we situate it? And that's exactly what we chose to do. Was to first put the art first. What we were trying to accomplish with 7 grand. So we knew that we wanted to accomplish art. We knew we had a political agenda. And we also knew, when I say political, I mean socio-political, musical, within the music industry.
Right.
Not in the larger sense of politics, but interestingly enough, there was a big shift in politics during the 7 grand era. One of the biggest shifts this country's ever seen, or the world's ever seen. But that was not our intention.
Okay.
But, and we equally realized that we were going to put money to the side. It's a component of the business, but we weren't going to let it be the driving force. We weren't going to be out there striving to incorporate how much wealth we have into the greatness of the music. We were going to let the music speak for itself, and we were going to let it be organic.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how we approached it. When the people who were involved in the movement, when it was in full swing, that's what they really dug, was that here were two men, grown men, not trying to act like children,
Right.
not trying to write songs like children, but at the same time influencing children. And at the same time, who had access to the huge and powerful media machine, but chose to handpick the platforms to deliver our message, and
Right.
and we did so that it could remain organic. So
Yeah.
when you look back on it in hindsight, myself included, you see a very organic situation, which again you don't see these days. Everything is manipulated by PR people. Before you hear anything from an artist, it's been spun 29 times behind the scenes, and then you get it.
Right.
Where Guru and I, we were honest.
Yeah, you did like organic music.
Yeah, the music, the message. We weren't just musicians. We just as I'm speaking with you, dear brother, we spoke to the media around the world. So we weren't just creating music, but we were talking to the people.
Yeah.
And the media loved us. You know what I mean? From BBC, when we get off a plane in London, BBC was there. Multiple MTV appearances. In places where you wouldn't even know there was an MTV. We were on MTV. Here in the States included, we made an appearance on Yo MTV Raps, and they had me sign the wall, which was, astounding. You know what I mean? The media, they were there for us, and
Yeah.
some embraced us more than others, but we understood that that's the nature of the beast, and we did our part because we realized at our juncture where we were in history, we wanted the music and the message and the men to be all one.
Right. Well, I want to,
and everything.
and I want to talk. I want you to share more of the the jewels, the shows, tours, difficulties, and victories. Before we do that, I'd like to play one of these songs real quick from Gangstar. You know my steez. Is that okay?
That's beautiful. One of my favorites.
This is Dexter Bailey on Success Radio. We're interviewing Solar, a super producer of 7 Grand and business partner to the legendary late great Guru. It's 106.9 WWSU Success Radio with Dexter Bailey. You said that Guru had some great anecdotes that he put in my steez, and he was in a different place in his life during that time when he made that album. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
When he was working on that album, and particularly that track, one of his favorite tracks that he ever did, he was in the mind state of really bringing that New York East Coast hip hop sounds out the way that he felt, it should be. And those, the Gangstar fans out there, they're going to understand that Gangstar kind of prided itself on not feeding radio. Like, they weren't making records for radio. They were making street records and records that cats in the hood could relate to. So when you listen to, my steez, especially the part where it goes, do your thing, God, it's just, that's where Guru was at that time. He was into his 5% teachings. He was into the streets of New York. So he was enjoying fully his immersion. He was fully immersed in the street culture, and I think that all just shines through. That with the brilliance of the video, is definitely, I think, some of the sharpest work he got in.
Man, you also said Tupac and Biggie, they were victims of violence, and Guru, he was a victim of violence as well. Can you tell us a little bit about that? How did that affect him?
Unfortunately, that's the downside, the dark side of hip-hop, is that violence has become, it became part and parcel. You don't see it as much anymore, thank God, and all praise is definitely due that we see less of it, but unfortunately it's still a pariah in the black community, and so it's not something new, obviously. And Guru was affected by it. The loss of Tupac, the loss of Biggie, the loss of Jam Master Jay, it affected him. I wasn't there to see how it affected him with Tupac and Biggie, but I was there to see how it affected him with Grandmaster Jay, Jam Master Jay, and peace be upon him. And it affected him deeply, and Guru himself was touched with violence out in Queens. He was recording and came out the studio late one night, and he was found himself the victim of a robbery and just a very violent situation that affected him very deeply. I think it drove some of the demons that he was wrestling with at the time, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
It's an unfortunate thing. But at the same time, at the end of the day, the music fan gets to enjoy all of that because
Yeah.
all of that goes into making a real artist.
Right.
All of those different things that he faced, that I've faced in life. We put that, we let that bleed right onto the paper. You know what I mean? And in my case, not if I'm rapping, it'll bleed to the paper. But equally, when I'm writing and producing, when you listen to the different sounds that I bring to the table, it's all influenced by different experiences.
Yeah.
And anything that happens in life, if you can take it and channel it into something that becomes greater when you're an artist, then it's nothing is for nothing. Everything has a purpose then.
Yeah. Yeah. And Guru, he dealt with alcohol, which is a real life situation that, there are many people who are out there that deal with it. They don't know what to do about it, but, Guru overcame it. And, of course, you were there to help him with that. How was that? How was that, being in that situation with him to let him know, hey, if you want to change, I'm here for you.
It's again to all my listeners out there. If you have somebody in your family or someone you love or someone you're close to who's fallen victim to alcoholism, again I give you my support and I tell you that you have to love them. You have to. The alcohol it changes them, but behind that it's them. It's a person. It's somebody who you love and you care about. That's right. Guru most certainly fell victim to the vices, and this music industry is full of vices. That's a fact, and that was one. So when we met, he had that problem, and it really reached a point where it was affecting him on so many different levels that it was almost impossible for me to see him like that. And we had many heart-to-heart talks that led to one really big heart-to-heart talk was like, you really have to address this. This is something that you're going to have to, make a move here because I'm not going to be here to watch you kill yourself,
Right.
in pieces. It's just as the alcohol will kill you just as much as putting a bullet in your head,
Yeah.
It'll just do it slower. And to his credit, again, one of the great things about him, he put the bottle down and never touched it again. He realized how detrimental it was, and he loved his fans, he loved his music, and that's what it came down to. I was more or less, just telling him the obvious. Listen, you love your fans and they love you, and the way you're going now, there's not going to be anything to love.
Yeah.
It's just going to be the music because it's not going good, and it very rarely does, if ever. So again, my hats off to him for being able to address that and get the help that he needed, and just take those steps towards sobriety, which he did and did in a big way.
And he put it down. I mean, he never picked it up again.
Never picked it up again, and it's really beyond amazing when you look at the fact of being in the music business where you're constantly surrounded by alcohol and other vices. So his ability to do that is just amazing. There were so many things about Guru that we could be here literally for days that I could just tell you amazed me. He just constantly amazed me. He was always striving to be better. He was always, up until the time that he passed, he was just trying to be better. Every day was not even a struggle. Every day was a day to get better, for him to be a better man, to be a better father, to be a better musician, a better legend, a better icon, because he was fully aware of his role, as a legend, as an icon, and he was really a sterling example of somebody who put his responsibilities first, before profit, before gain, and of course it made some people very, very uncomfortable. And if the fans really knew how disgusting some of these so-called icons and moguls are, and how foul they treated Guru and how they felt towards Guru, was it would just, people would just, I think, cry or want to pick up their gun or whatever, because the people who should have supported him the most showed him the most disdain.
Mm.
But the fact is, he kept it pushing. So if it hurt him, so be it.
Yeah.
And I say the same thing, so be it.
Yeah.
Nobody has the right to stop another man from being great.
Right.
Because he doesn't want the Rolls Royces, because he doesn't want the big houses, because he's not going to stand here and make 29 records about nonsense. And he's going to try to lead his life so he could help people and direct people in the right direction. And the fans supported him wholeheartedly in his endeavors. And if he just changed one life, and I know he's changed more than one, but if he
Right.
just changed one life with that, then it was all worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. And then of course his legacy it still lives, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's some people who I've been around people, who have passed away. I've had friends who've passed away and family members who've passed away even just recently. And before they pass away, they usually from what I've seen, they kind of retell their life story, basically to say, hey, look, I existed, and what I did here was not for, nothing, basically. And,
Okay.
Guru, I mean, what he did, it wasn't for nothing, it wasn't for nothing. And it's still going, his art is still going. And I'm just so glad that you're still, putting it out there. Some people go on and their life ends at the funeral.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, this is true. This is very true. And, all equally, when you're dealing with somebody as important as Guru and someone whose contributions, for the largest part, have been overlooked, he's an unsung hero to a large degree. And it's part of my plans moving forward, in the future is to make sure that changes, that he gets the full recognition of his influence. Because Jazzmatazz, that's really the really odd part about this, is that Jazzmatazz is so influential in changing the scope of everything. Let me just give a couple examples of what Jazzmatazz changed. Jazzmatazz, before Jazzmatazz, you didn't see multiple features on a hip-hop album.
Right. He had Angie Stone and Erykah Badu. Yeah.
Going back to the very beginning was Donald Byrd and Isaac Hayes and, people who were just, you wouldn't, even think. You knew their music because people were sampling these jazz cats, so you were accessing their music, but you didn't know who they were.
Yeah.
Guru went and took these musicians and said, "Listen, we're going to go in the studio and we're going to do this the right way. We're going to make a record together, not me taking a record that you did 5 years ago or 10 years ago and redo it, sample it, and redo it. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to actually get the musician himself, and we're going to go in and as men and create the same way as when we made Jazzmatazz 4 with Damian Marley, and on the same record you have Common.
Yeah.
And then I put Common and the jazz great Bob James and Guru on the same record. That's the epitome of Jazzmatazz. That's the razor sharp edge being applied. But at the very beginning of the first Jazzmatazz, you've got an album full of features. It was never done in hip hop. It was never heard of. So now in hip hop, as we start to see years later, every record, they couldn't even make a record without features.
Right. Some people make their careers on features.
That's right. That's an absolute fact. So they took the purity of it again, and it affected other things. It's almost like the Bruce Lee effect. You got kids now that are going to go and see, an action movie. You don't have the modern genre of action movies without Bruce Lee.
Right.
What? These kids don't know it. Go pull up outside of the Indestructibles and pull somebody aside coming out of there and tell them, these guys were all influenced by Bruce Lee.
That's right.
Not one of them can say that this is not the Bruce Lee model.
That's right. That's right. And he would make a movie where he was just in a building. The whole movie was in one building, maybe 2 or 3 rooms of a building, and he made a whole action movie out of it.
That's right. That's right. So, it's not much different with Jazzmatazz an influence. These kids are really have been touched, and it's being recycled, and they're experiencing the influence of Jazzmatazz, but just don't know it, as yet. And like I said, it's a part of my mission as time goes on, is to make sure that I'm here to point that out, and that willfully, more interviewers like yourself will pick up on that and make it a point to enlighten people. Let them know, look, man, a lot of the stuff that you're dealing with comes from the purity of jazzmatazz. Even with Guru and I, when we started 7 Grand, we did a track called Hood Dreaming.
Okay.
And just to put this in context, just so the fans understand, this is no disrespect to Lupe Fiasco. He's a brilliant artist. We did a track called Hood Dreaming, and Hood Dreaming is, and you're going to play that, as a matter of fact, a little bit later.
Yep.
And we did it as, you know, it's a very cool song. We did a really nice video out in Hollywood. And it was just a real expression of underground hip-hop and, you know, what me and Guru was trying to accomplish with our first album, the Street Scriptures, Guru 7.0, the Street Scriptures. And then, like, some months later, Lupe Fiasco, you know, brings out literally the same song. And he uses the jazzmatazz formula and puts Jill Scott singing the hook and makes a very jazzy version of the song, but does not credit Guru and myself in any way, shape, or form. Will not, even to this day, acknowledge that he was influenced by our song that came out, you know, well before his song, not years, but, you know, maybe a year or so. And there's no way, the hook is exactly the same, word for word. Jill Scott sang the hook, word for word, the hook from our song. So this is something that, you know, needs to hopefully change as according to Guru, as time goes on. And more people will come out and say, listen, I was influenced by Guru. I was influenced not only by Gangstar, but I was influenced by Guru himself, and I was influenced overseas in Europe. Jazzmatazz is just, you know, it's the cat's meow.
Yeah.
You know, they give it up, no question. But here in the States, Jazzmatazz it's been a weird ride for the brand and for the legacy. And hopefully, we'll see as time goes on that it'll start to fall into the light that it belongs in. And that's a part of what I'm here to do, is to make sure that I bring attention to it, because it has influenced so many other people, but you don't hear them talking about it. And I think it's time that more artists and more industry people, you know, make note of that. Make note and say, hey, look, you know, Guru was the one who started this, or Guru was the one who brought my attention to this, or, you know, Gangstar was headed me down this road, and Jazzmatazz was affecting that and affected this, because it has affected artists. Like I said, Lupe Fiasco being one of the brightest youngest stars out here, he was affected by Jazzmatazz and by Guru, and probably by Gangstar also. You know, I would imagine, because his first single was very Gangstar-esque. So you know, when that happens, everybody benefits. Music benefits, the world benefits, but it's never a good look when young brothers and sisters, you know, disacknowledge their influences.
Right.
That's not a good look.
Right. And you actually directed the music video for that, didn't you?
That's right. That's my one of my directorial efforts, and probably my best work.
Let's take a real quick listen to that. That's Guru, Hood Dreamin', produced and directed by Solar.
Daydream, I feel asleep, I'm in the flowers for a couple of hours on a beautiful day.
The hood's full of kids that are thirsty and bold. I know who was busting out a hearse that he stole. Ain't no talking to him, ain't no calming him down. This ain't theater, but he's the latest drama in town. You know Dukes, he come through in a whirlwind. He don't give a he don't know the meaning of friend. Yup, I've seen it all in this life of mine. Most of us must resort to a life of crime. And if I don't got I use this for mine. If not, I execute you with my mic divine. Let it be known that I do my thing. Since way back, been in Adidas and Puma King. To this day, I'm always seen in the finest threads. Last MC I slayed, can't find his head. Skip the long bus rides, prefer to fly instead. Tell the promoter he got 2 seconds to find my bread.
Daydream, I feel asleep, I'm in the flowers for a couple of hours on a beautiful day. Daydream, I dream of you, I'm in the flowers for a couple of hours on a beautiful day.
The girls calling me cute Why you calling your troops? I got them waving white flags, guess they're calling a truce. I'm so nice. I got the young thugs open, cause I'm just what they waited for. Keep the nightclub smoking. Jealous cats wanna get out there, cause every pair that I wear be fresh out the box. That's cool, cause I can see them coming. I'll send them hot ones with names on them. You can see them humming, I'm fly. Just like a private helicopter, wannabes, I'ma break your ass off. Hella proper, you've been waiting for the chance to get put on. I'm self-made, and your whole act is just to put on. So put on a jacket and tie. Go job hunting, you was never real, motherfucker. Stop fronting. A great rapper, cause then a test of time. I got some props, but now I want the rest of mine.
Daydream, I feel asleep among the flowers for a couple of hours on a beautiful day. Daydream, I dream of you among the flowers for a couple of hours on a beautiful day.
Man, Solar, you know that is an awesome video. Like, I'm not even gonna get into it. I mean, that is a nice video, and it really looks like a few of the videos that we have out today actually, like, you know, tip their hat to that video.
Yeah. The influences. I've told you, Dex. You already know, man. It's you know, a lot of the work has been highly influential, and you know what? I just smile. You know what I mean,
Yeah.
when I see, even down to what I was going for. There is something that only cats from my generation are really going to know, which was an old show called The Green Hornet and Kato, starring Bruce Lee. That's a homage to that, and then we kind of mixed it in with a little Sin City.
Yeah.
It's a mashup. It's a throwback to the old gangster movies. You look at Guru's little outfit there, the way he's got his collar turned up, and
Right.
that's taking it back to the 40s and 50s, man, gangster movies.
Yeah. In the G suits. and you know, it's kind of like after that, everybody was doing that, you know, the gangster thing. This is a gangster video. It wasn't any longer we're doing a music video standing by the pool,
Yeah.
like Pumps in a Bump. But, you know, it was just like we're doing a gangster movie or a movie video, like with a story, you know?
Yes, and you know that again, Brother Dex, is a beautiful thing, and you can only, you know, I can only smile when that is the most positive aspect of creating and being creative. It's certainly when that's what you set out to do, and that's what Guru and I really set out to do, was to give art an injection. You know what I mean? To give art a shot in the arm, because it had become so you know, stale. It was all just blatant. It just didn't make sense at that juncture when we came in 2005 with this, and we said this is what it needs right now. It needs a shot of creativity, and it's like jump starting a car when your car goes dead and the battery goes dead. You got to find a live battery, a live charge, and you hit it, and boom, you know, you're back, you're running again, you're back on the road. Well, that's kind of how me and Guru looked at hip hop, and rather than stand around and complain and, you know, point fingers, we said, well, look, we're going to come with something super creative that nobody has seen ever. Not on the budget that me and Guru was on, because the real amazing part is how we got that video made with no money.
Wow.
You know, we shot that on film. You know, that was shot in Hollywood on film. That was a full-blown deal. So, you know, after we did that, and we saw the effect it was having, then we really knew that this was our first album, that we knew we were cooking with gas then. And we knew at that point we weren't going to turn back. And, of course, you know, you had those that were telling Guru and trying to say publicly that, oh, this was going to fail, Guru without, you know, Gang Star, it's never going to work. Fans won't accept it. You know, the world's going to come to an end.
And look, you guys started something.
The sky's falling.
Right.
Yeah. And of course, we took great pleasure in proving them wrong.
Yeah. Now, of course, you know, it comes with the territory. everybody deals with it. I mean, you look, they tried to tell Jay-Z he was messing with the devil, to get where he got. And you have people who bring a negative, just a negative vibe towards what it is that you do when you make it in the industry. I guess that's kind of how you know you made it, when you see the haters start popping up like flowers.
Yeah, it's become the status quo.
But how did y'all overcome that? How did you get through? I mean, it's kind of like some people even hated all the way to Guru's deathbed, which is sad to
that
say.
part is where it probably gets about as ugly as I've ever seen anything get. You know what I mean? Whenever you take pleasure in a man's demise, certainly a great man like Guru never did anything to hurt anybody. You really have to take a step back and say, whoa. And but for the most part, like you said, the hate in hip hop and certainly in the 2004 2003 realm, it became kind of the gas that drove the engine to some degree, because that's what brought the media attention. The media was like, well, what's all this about? What is all these feathers being ruffled?
Right.
Let's come in and take a look. And then once the media started coming in to talk to me and Google and see what this is about, then they were like, oh, okay. So in essence, to be quite honest, they did us a huge favor.
Yeah. Kind of like some no media is bad media, right?
Yes, because no media, you have no sales.
Right.
You have no doors.
Right.
So that drove the media attention, and then once the media attention came in and people really started to get a look and get a listen, and then the DJs divided up, and they divided favorably for me and Guru. But again, it was all of this, don't play them, or they're whack, or this, that, or it's no good without. It just really brought people in to pay more attention to the music and what was going on. And we never had, a bad tour. We did 3 world tours, and they were all sold out.
Wow.
So it's interesting when we would look at Twitter, not at Twitter, pardon me, but MySpace and Twitter towards the end. But when we were putting together our first world tour, we look at YouTube and so on, and we see the hate. But we came to find out that most of that hate is kind of invisible in terms of people-wise. Because when we go out and tour, these people, they never materialized. There was never any of that. Whenever we'd interview with media sources, the vast majority would be favorable. So it came to both of our attention that we think that there's a lot of this hate is just disgruntled individuals that are like one person that's got like 2 million accounts.
Right. And they don't need to come. They don't. If you've got a sold out concert,
they're too busy on the internet hating. They don't got any time to come.
Right. Right. That's right. Now, and of course, there's, after doing, the research, and I did massive research, there's the letter. And from what I saw, it was a, great, heartfelt letter of what Guru wanted, after he was gone.
That's what it boiled down to.
And people really just expressed so much hate about that letter. But, as the letter said, the deal. So what was it? What was it about?
It was what essentially, again, Guru being a visionary. That's one thing Guru always was. And he was able to read the cards, and read them well. And he knew once the cancer was becoming to that point where it wasn't going to be beat. And, he had to come to that conclusion. Once he came to that conclusion, he had to get his affairs in order. Yeah. And as a part of getting his affairs in order, behind the scenes, what had to be done, he also realized that there was going to have to be the fans who embraced Guru and Solar and 7 Grand. That was his baby. 7 Grand is his baby, and it was the most, I'm not going to say it was the most important years of his life, but certainly the happiest years of his life. Yeah. This is from Guru. He enjoyed being a CEO. He enjoyed the freedom of 7 Grand, the creativity. He enjoyed mixing things up. The tours were phenomenal. The fans were incredible. And it brought everything together. The haters wanted to detract. See, the haters wanted everything to be separate. Gangstar, Jazzmatazz, 7 Grand. Whereas the real fans see it all together as one larger body of work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's the way I look at it. I don't see it as different. I don't see Gangstar, Jazzmatazz, and 7 Grand different, Guru and Solar. I see it all as one large body of work.
Yeah.
Different components. So, that being said, he realized that without him being there to protect his baby, 7 Grand, his dream, 7 Grand, being all his work, because that's what he saw 7 Grand as, the umbrella that everything fell under, that it would come under attack. And he was absolutely 100% right, you know.
Right.
So that was his way of saying to the fans and the haters, this is what it is. This is the way it is. And it was my job, task, to bring that to the public. An unenviable task, but yet and still a task that fell on my responsibility. That was something that I had to do, and I think the best way to do it was to take it to MTV, to Sway, and tell the world this is what it really is. I was there with Guru every day in the hospital, you know, through the cancer. I was there, you know, when he was diagnosed. You know, I was there for every decision he made, according to how to treat the cancer and how to go about it. You know, a lot of people, the haters, tried to say that, you know, that I had a undue influence. In fact, in reality, I wish that was true, because I advised him to go completely the opposite route that he took in terms of dealing with the cancer. My advice was to go holistic. You know, let's try to deal with this in a holistic fashion and leave surgery for the back. You know, if the holistics doesn't work. And he chose very reputable surgeons, very reputable hospital to approach it with surgery. And ultimately, we all know that failed. You know, if it didn't fail, obviously he'd still be here with us. So that's all a part of it. You know, I was there with him, so therefore I was left the task to tell the world what happened and how things were going to be. Whether people liked it or didn't like it, this is a decision that a man, an icon, made. And it should have been, in my opinion, it should have been just that. But when people have things to hide and people have agendas, like you said, a hateful agenda, an agenda of wickedness, they're going to attack what's right and what's good.
Right.
And it's not the first time in history we've seen this. You know, for all the Christians, all my Christians fans and all the Christian listeners out there, go no further than your Bible and look at Jesus.
Exactly.
There's no love fest for Jesus.
Exactly.
But we love him today. We love what he represented today, and almost everything that we have from a religious point of view in America is based on what Jesus had to deal with. So it's not the concept of attacking somebody because he's telling you something good. Well, you know, it's been seen before. Martin Luther, you know, the love fest came afterwards. You know, when he was alive, the government was tapping his phones.
Right.
You know?
That's right.
So,
and that happens with a lot of greats. Even Aristotle. They didn't like him. Socrates, they didn't like him. They wanted to kill him. They wanted to burn him up, you know.
That's right.
Martin Luther King Jr., you know, they didn't like him. They hated him. They loathed him until, you know, after he passed away. And then they loved him.
Then we enjoy the holidays.
Exactly.
So, you know, it is unfortunate, but kind of built in. And it's, you know, and I say it's unfortunate for those that harvest, you know, that harbors that kind of hatred and that kind of venom and that kind of, because at the end of the day, they've got to live with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that they're going to carry that throughout all of their time. They're gonna always have to deal with that. Whereas for myself and those who truly love Guru and love the music, there's only going to be, you know, beautiful feelings.
Right. And he had he really had a gift of knowing that it will end soon. You know, and
you know, they say that for all the great ones. And you know what, Dex, I mean to cut you off. You're absolutely right. I believe that all great men, at some point, sense their own mortality.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know, the interesting thing about it is that there's albums of work that hasn't been released yet. You know, which I'm still, you know, really just sensing when and how to release it. And when the world hears this work, that was done. Some of it was done prior to him getting cancer, and some of it was done while he actually had cancer and was treating. That became his medicine. Being in the studio working, it is a very important piece of work, body of work that when the fans are ready and when the time is right, it'll get released. And I think that people are going to just. There's nothing like it that they've ever heard. Every time I listen to the music, it's unbelievable. Sometimes it makes me tear up and want to cry.
Yeah.
Other times it just makes me want to just scream at the top of my lungs. Look at how great this man is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he was deep.
It's the new material, the material that hasn't been heard. Once it gets heard, it's going to be unbelievable.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like you said, great men. They come around, not so often, once in a while, and he's definitely one of the greats, and he's inspired me and inspired 7 Grand, and that's what I carry on going to into the future. As the fans know, it's been about a year and a half, maybe a little bit more, that I didn't interview. People didn't hear from Solar,
right.
And the reason why is that I mourned Guru.
Yeah.
I took the time to heal and to mourn. When you lose somebody great like that, for me, it would have done everybody a disservice for me to be out trying to make albums, doing tours, and
right. That makes sense. It makes perfect sense.
I just had to really take time and heal and come to grips with not only who I lost, but what the world lost. You know what I mean? Because he was very young to die. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He had the way he was working, the way he was living. He had another 20 good with no problem.
Yeah. Now,
when I say 20 good, I mean creative years. And we know these jazz cats, they tour until their 80s. We got the Rolling Stones.
That's right. And he could have kept going. He really could have kept going.
Yeah.
It's kind of it reminds me of a joke Steve Harvey said, and really I can't retell the joke like Steve Harvey, but he says, they have, these different people to listen to now that they're older. And it's like he said he felt sorry for the younger generation because he said, who y'all gonna have to listen to when you get older? Jay-Z. But Guru had that sound where you could really, you could get older and you could listen to that forever. And you can listen to that forever. Now is his son rapping?
His son had his interest always fell along the lines of break dancing and sports, skateboarding, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So you just don't know. If that's where it takes him, then we'll see it again. I never saw him rap, but you just never know. When it comes to young people, you just don't know. You just have to give them that room and let them grow.
Okay. So now, you still go out and showcase? Now you're ready to go out and showcase Guru's music to the world.
Yeah, that was always a part of the plan that Guru and I had for the catalog and for his music. Once he passed, once we understood that the cancer was serious and it was going to be that. So Jazzmatazz will be, there will be tours, there will be future projects, and of course 7 Grand moves on with Guru's vision in mind. With new projects, new artists. Myself, of course, as an artist, as an actor, as a director, I'll be moving forward. With different projects. So right now, as we speak, there's new projects that I'm putting finishing touches on. I just did some stuff for a television show, a hit television show that'll be added on to the series next. Matter of fact, this year, 2013. So there's a lot of things that are happening. A lot of offers coming in, phones ringing, and new situations I'm very excited about. New people who are very excited to work with me and to collaborate on these new projects. So I'm excited. I'm at a point now where I'm really starting to wrap my head around the future and see where I'm going to go and how I'm going to add on to music and to culture and my other endeavors. When Guru met me, I was heavily involved with homeless children, and I've always had the embedded root of giving back to the community. during the downtime, I spent a lot of time with the youth. I've been spending, tons of time, so they benefited greatly for my downtime working with the youth and just, developing the new crop, so to speak, and giving them that love and that solar energy to make sure that our future generations keep coming strong.
Did you say giving them the solar energy? I just want to make sure I heard you right.
That's right. That's right. It doesn't get any better than that.
Wow. Now, do you go and speak to the schools as well then?
Yeah, I try to be a little bit more hands-on, so I get involved with the children directly.
Yeah.
So different endeavors. I get involved on a daily basis, of working with them, teaching them, and not only the children but with the parents also.
Yeah.
So it's like anything. When you've been blessed to do what you love to do, and you've been good at it. For me, it would be a crime not to give back.
Right. Now, once you're in, you're in the right circles, you have the right connections. How do things change? How do things change in your life? Is it monumental? Is it incrementally? How do things change?
For me, it's it's something I deal with on a daily basis. When you think about fame and you think about so-called fortune that goes with it, there's ups and downs. The ups, of course, is that I've been places that I only dreamed of, and been there multiple times. Have done things that there were points in my life that I dreamt of doing and was able to do it. Worked with people that I idolized, and again, here I am working with these people. So that element of it is fantastic.
Yeah.
The downside of it is that people don't really know me anymore. Solar becomes versions. That's why we made that album, Guru version 7.0, and we made 8.0, because actually, literally, I can't be the same person again. I can't be that guy that before. I could like him, I can remember him,
right,
but I can't be him anymore because people are not going to understand that, So literally, and this would probably sound cliched, people change around you. As much as you don't want to change, you will change because people change.
I'm actually kind of glad you said that, because it's something that I hear with every person that I interview. And of course, I've interviewed CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, millionaires and billionaires and business owners, and they all say that you can't help but change. It's kind of like an evolution, huh? It
is, and it's an accelerated evolution. It's evolution, at jet speed, because fame and success, it comes very fast, and it's a whirlwind. And then when it slows down, if it slows down, in my case, it slowed down, then you kind of catch up to it. It's like, oh, okay, all of this now. This is what it is now. And even though you strive to be grounded, and in my case, I strive to be grounded, and I think I've found the right balance, the right combination of components that keep me balanced and to keep me grounded. Mm-hmm. At the same time, like you said, there's no way to not change. There's no way. It's impossible. So it's a matter for me of changing in a positive way, growing positively, and taking every experience that I have and bringing a positive element to it. Because at the end of the day, that's what Guru and I got from each other, was positive energy. And the result is what we've given the world. I was negative before I met Guru, and Guru wasn't negative before he met me. But we became more positive when we got together. We became more powerful.
Now, when you say negative, you say you kind of like jaded by the industry, felt like the industry was kind of like really shady and not supportive. What do you mean?
I don't think that you can find any business in America or in the world, for that matter, that doesn't have components that are shady. It's built into the capitalist platform, and probably any other platform. There's always going to be components of everything. So I've always tried not to be overly critical of the negative elements of the music industry, because I don't think it's much different than politics. I don't think it's much different than other corporate elements.
Right.
You know, the fame element, you know, that's something different. You know, that is something different. But there is that component. I mean, you know, Tribe Called Quest, you know, said it, and Wu-Tang said it. You know, it's been in too many rap lyrics to count. You know how shady it can be, and I think that, you know, there's only two ways you can approach anything. You can say, hey, there's a problem, and either that problem stops me or stops the situation, you know, or what you're doing, or you look at the problem and you figure out a way to get around it, circumnavigate it, or eradicate it.
Right.
You know?
Now, did it change your dynamic with your family? Did your family members come around? Hey, can we borrow $100,000? You know,
of course, they're still doing that. And to anyone of y'all listening, the answer's still no.
Now, were they supportive of your career before, during, or after, or all the way through?
All the way through.
Yeah.
You know, I've been blessed to have people who love me and support me in everything that I do, and have done. So
Yeah.
I've been very blessed in that element. At the same time, I think pretty much it comes down to myself too, the individual. If you act like a star and you carry yourself like, you know, all of a sudden you're this or you're that, or, you know, your fortunes have changed, people react to that. But if you know, they come around and they say, man, I just saw you on MTV. And they're like, yeah, you know, and you know, you just kind of matter of fact about it.
Right.
You know, that's how I handle it. You know, even when I meet new friends and new people, I very rarely tell them, you know, anything about, you know, who I am or what I do. And it could be some period of time, and then they'll say to me or somebody I know, like, I didn't even know Solo was famous. Like, oh wow. You know?
And it seems like celebrities are very good. Do you have children?
Yes, I do.
Do they know? You know that you're a famous, a known producer?
Yeah, they pretty much do, and you know, they for sure understood Guru's role and his level.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I think that, you know, a lot of how I handle myself, I got from Guru, because Guru was just that kind of guy. He was just always, you know, there for the fans. I don't care what he could be in the middle of dinner, the middle of a conversation. If a fan came up and said, hey, Guru, can I get a picture? You know, he would stop whatever he's doing and, you know, give that fan attention, you know.
Yeah.
And I always admired that about him. So to that degree, I had a great teacher, you know what I mean? Somebody to model off of. How to be.
So he understood, and it really seemed like he understood the power he wielded. You know, there's a lot of celebrities, they become celebrities, and they don't want to take the responsibility of celebrity. Kind of like, you know, if somebody goes out and does something because I said this in a lyric, I'm not responsible for it. And, you know, to a certain extent, you do have a certain you do have a level of influence. He understood that.
You know, that kind of cuts to the core of 7 Grand and why we created 7 Grand, because what you're speaking on is built into 7 Grand. Those are the components that 7 Grand represents. When you listen to our third record, which is the mixtape, we did a Jazzmatazz with all underground artists on here. And it's the first time that a Jazzmatazz record was made as such. And, you know, the fans out there, if you take a listen to that record, you really kind of tune into that element, because that's where Guru is really giving back and going back with the young cats who couldn't even believe that when we called them, like, oh, we want you on a record, like, oh my God, Guru, oh, I'm gonna be, you know, it's that element, the kind of don't talk about it, be about it element that Guru brought to the game. And then of course I was right there, you know, on his right, saying, hey, look, let's exactly do that. Let's just do it, you know.
Right.
Talking about it is to some degree, you know, it has some usefulness, but nothing will ever replace action in terms
Right.
of getting something done. Talking about doing it is one thing, but actually getting it done and doing it, that's a whole nother animal.
Did you or Guru ever have any troubles like acting on something? Was there something ever holding you back?
I mean, it was a constant battle. It was a constant struggle to get the next record made, to get the the business people on board to understand that it's a temperance, because they're looking at us as a resource. They want to make money from with Guru and Solar. They don't care what our message is. They don't care if, what we're trying to accomplish. They want to make $1. So we had to literally, be able to bring these thoughts and these visions in our minds into a place where it could be profitable.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So, that was a constant challenge. And when I look at the catalog, we see a 4-album success story.
Yeah.
That each album we successively had a different point of attack. So when you listen to Guru version 7.0, the Street Scriptures, then you listen to Jazz and Taz Volume 4, the Hip Hop Jazz Messenger, and then you listen to the Jazz and Taz Time Bomb mixtape, and then you listen to our most creative, futuristic album, Guru version 8.0, Lost and Found. Each album was a completely different entity. None of those albums represent each other. They all are another vision of $7 So in each context of each album, each one had selling points and had down points. Each one had a challenge to get made. So when we're going through the process of bringing, and then each tour had its own element, of what that album brought forward, and each one spoke to that particular time. That when we look at the decade from 2000 to 2010, a lot went on in 10 years. I mean, the world has essentially changed in a 12, 13 year period.
That's right.
I mean, changed in such a rapid way that I don't think it's ever been seen. So here we are in the middle of that, and bringing out these albums, and we're keeping on point with everything that changes. We've got a new album that changes with it. It's not the same album being made 3 different times. It's not the same topics. It's everything is evolving, and it's representing all different aspects of what we're seeing. You know what I mean? A lot of the songs, Guru talks about relationships, male and female relationships. He speaks about, he raps about so many different topics, so many, and then the features equally. When you listen to Damian Marley and Guru going at it with Stand Up, and you hear that kind of, it's almost like Bob Marley again, a newer version, of father and son. When you hear the urgency and then the same rebelliousness in a stand-up. Or you listen to Common and Bob James and Guru talking about life, reflecting on life with State of Clarity. And just the concept of the song, State of Clarity. Yeah. Then you jump forward to Guru 8.0, Lost and Found, and you listen to the title track. And you've got something, a whole other thing going on there. Or you listen to After Time with me and Guru rapping, which I think you have that song, and you'll play that, where people hear me laying down 16 bars of fire, and then you listen to what's being rapped about, what are we saying? Because we are saying something. We are speaking. We're two men that are unafraid, that were fearless. Yeah. In our approach. Anytime you're going to accomplish anything great, if you got fear, you can forget it. Yeah. If there's any level of fear in your heart, forget it. And that's fine. In the music business, you have a lot of people who are very successful who operate off a platform of fear. They're afraid. They're afraid to change things. They're afraid to stand up for something that's right. They're afraid that if they make a record that hasn't been made 200 times before, that they won't get a new gold chain or they won't get a new car. They're afraid. Well, Guru and I, like all great men, had to be unafraid. So we had to be fearless for those who have fear. We had to speak for those who had no voice. We had to make music that others were afraid to make.
Well, let me real quick play Guru featuring Solar. It's called After Time. Man, Solar, you really dropping some great jewels of wisdom. It's 106.9 WWSU, Success Radio with Dexter Bailey. Always listen every Saturday from 9 to 11 on the Hot Choice 106.9 WWSU. You can also listen online at WWSU1069.com or your TuneIn app, right straight from your iPad or your iPhone or your iPod. Put an I in front of it. You can listen to it on the TuneIn app. You can also listen to it on your Droid. It's 106.9 WWSU. Fairborn Dayton.
Time after time, I've taken my, I've paid my dues. Time after time, I've done my sentence, but committed no crime.
Better tell your mans to not fall victim to the propaganda. Cause all these foul messages in the music are like a cancer, eating away at the lives of those already fighting to survive. Shit, ain't nothing wrong with a 9 to 5. The RICO Act is no joke. That's like the politicians' gun smoke. Times are seriously hard for my...
It's 106.9 WWSU Success Radio with Dexter Bailey. Listen in every Saturday from 9 to 11 on the Right Choice 106.9 WWSU. You can also listen online at WWSU1069.com or through your TuneIn app on your Droid or iPhone. I'm interviewing super producer Solar and business partner to the late, great Guru. You just heard the songs Keep Your Worries with Guru featuring Angie Stone. And also Skills with the Guru. Man, I can't believe we played that many songs. And we also played After Time. I can't believe that many songs just went past. But, you know, it's 10:50, and you know we got about 10 minutes left. But I just really wanted to know from you, Solar. Now that everything has been said and done, and you have more to say and do. What do you have planned? What do you have planned for the future of 7 grand yourself? And of course, the Guru legacy.
Well, first and foremost is to be creative and to bring new projects to the fans and to the public that people are really going to enjoy, that represent what 7 grand Guru and myself envisioned. I'm working on music for television. I'm working on some movie projects. There's some new albums in the work. My album, which is coming out phenomenal. I think when people hear my solo album, I think it's been in the works. It's just going to be a game changer on so many different levels. And equally, I'm collaborating with some really major artists that are future rock and roll Hall of Famers and multi-Grammy Award winners. And of course, I've worked with quite a few Grammy Award winners.
Yeah.
So the musical projects are going to be of a level that people are really going to be, I think the fans are going to be happy. I think new fans are going to tune in. And it's going to be a positive evolution of the work. When you have such a great legacy, it's incumbent upon me to make sure that the projects that I bring going forward are of that stature. Nobody, especially the fans and myself, would want to see any project come from 7 grand that wouldn't be at that level of quality.
Yeah. Now, okay, how much music industry weight do you have to have behind you before you can get an album or even a song produced by Solar?
You want to hear something funny? I have an artist that just hollered at me from Minnesota that I really like. Independent, doing the mixtape thing, and I'm going to shoot her a track. So at the same time as we speak, I'm working with multi-platinum future rock and roll Hall of Famers at the same time. So I think that's both ends of the spectrum.
Wow.
So you can either be on that end or you can be on the other end or somewhere in the middle. It's not, seriously, it's just if I get a vibe for the artist or the project, I don't really approach it from that aspect of how big they are, how small. If I like what they're doing, I like the sound. Believe it or not, if you check my Twitter, people are sending me links all the time. Check them out on SoundCloud and check out the Reverb Nation, and I do.
Okay.
As soon as I get a free moment, I'm right on there, Reverb or SoundCloud, and I listen.
Wow.
And I enjoy listening to cats coming up. I enjoy listening to good music, from some of the new artists that are out. And I look forward to working with some of the new artists that are out.
Wow. Now, Solar, how can people learn more about you? Learn more about 7 Grand? Is there a website we can go to? Follow you on MySpace? No, we're not going to MySpace.
It's still there, but it's a ghost town.
Yeah. Facebook. I'm sure. I know Facebook. I know Twitter. How can we get more of 7 Grand?
Well, Twitter I'm very active on. So I'm very active on Twitter. I post up the albums, so you can get the links. Equally, you can check the website www.gurusolar7grand. You hit the Twitter. Twitter's always got different links to the websites, to the Facebook, and anything that's happening, that's going on, pretty much is going to be on the Twitter. So, I'm a Twitter guy. Tweet me.
Now I cannot let anybody out of here. Last week, I was actually working with the inauguration thing that we had down in D.C. And how does it feel? Does it make any difference to you? Is there any feeling that we got a second term for the first black president of the United States? How does it make you feel?
Well, I'm very proud. It's from the very beginning when we saw that this was going to be the case. It's everything that I could have dreamt of. To see this come to fruition, to see it actually take place, and he's got some hard work ahead of him.
Yeah.
America is facing quite a few different situations that have to be taken very seriously.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
I smile and I'm very proud, and at the same time, this is serious business right now.
That's right. Now, what are your 5 keys to success?
Well, 5 is power, and for me, responsibility, creativity, loyalty, and just drive are the components that form that power. And at the basis of all of that for me is knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. And if we all apply just at one moment of any day or every day, those 3 components, progress will be made. You will always find some level of progress just utilizing those components.
And I know I asked you 5. I usually, I used to ask 3, and people would go to 5. And of course, I'm probably sure I should have asked for 7.
That's right. 7 is the real powerful number.
So you can go ahead and add 2 more.
Let's say, whenever you have power, you have to bring a level of fairness to the table, because very often people with power abuse those who don't have power.
Yeah.
So to add on to power, we'll say a sense of fairness, equality, and once you've become powerful and you've dealt with people fairly, equally, then you can say that you've now found the aspects of a great God, because we all like to believe that God is the fairest, the most equal, and that God is the most beneficent in dealing with his children.
Yeah. Wow. And Solar, super producer and business partner of the late great Guru, who's actually, still leading and, pushing his legacy forward through his many artistic albums and hip hop fusion of jazz and hip hop. Man, hip hop has come such a long way, and I'm
Yeah.
glad you guys both had a great deal to do with that, and I'm glad you're still keeping it going and just not giving up on what we have today, Solar.
No, never give up. And my love and my energy, is out there, and it's always going to be attached to the music. And I'm always going to be positive. The sun is always going to shine, and that energy is always going to be with all of us. Whether we're physically here or not. There's been so many great men that have come into our lives, yours, mine, and all of our listeners. That are not physically here anymore, but it doesn't take away from their greatness. And there are those that are here that are going to keep working and keep doing their duty. And I will be one of those.
Man. Well, thank you again, Solar, so much for doing this interview. I, am honored and it's such great appreciation. I'd love to have you on anytime. Maybe we'll do a follow up and see how things are going. What's going on with Solar and 7 Grand and of course the legacy of Guru and yourself.
You know what? And that will happen. And when I come out to your area to perform, to tour, and what have you, I will definitely let you know, and I'll hit you on the Twitter, and I'll come back on, and willfully we'll have you at the show.
Absolutely. Thank you again, Solar, and you'll absolutely hear from me soon.
Beautiful. All right, Brother Dex.
Have
Peace.
a great day and enjoy yourself.
Peace to all the listeners. Peace.
It's 106.9 WWSU Success Radio with Dexter Bailey. Listen every Saturday from 9 to 11 on the hottest choice, the right choice, 106.9 WWSU, Fairborn, Dayton. Next up, Josh Penna. He's doing some great sports talk. So listen in, listen soon. He's right here, and he's ready to roll. It's 106.9 WWSU.